gangsters. Not real gangsters. Not real gangsters. Not real gangsters.
The gangster. It is one of the most popular images media promotes to young black men.
And behind every form of media is someone who's trying to influence you to do something or to think something.
It is both pervasive and persuasive, making it all too popular among young African American males.
Civilians making slaves of your children, making slaves do their killings. Really, the game's brilliant.
It's people who are trying to remotely control you, and this is what it's all about, to control something from a remote position.
Paradise Gray and Jasiri X, through One Hood Media, are indeed showing young men exactly how to change the game by seizing control of the media through the internet. Through blogging and creating their own videos, these young men are learning that they can control the image that the world has of them, and thus they have become game changer.
We so much greater than how they portray us as, with more champions than Kobe and the Lakers have. But they always make us have guns, mad faces, and disgraces, and show the world our shame like a naked man. I hate it, man. So I guess I gotta take a stand, 'cause we not
just ballers and rappers.
XXL comes to Too Short after an interview and says, oh, we got an idea. Let's do this video where you're like giving fatherly advice to a group of middle school students.
You have to become independent before you can, so you can figure out who you are and how you want to view how you want the world to view you, and what the type of message you want to put out there.
Like our brains are broken, we just came to joke like new millennium slaves with chains round our throat. But our own laziness is what I blame the most. We can't achieve if we just believe in change and hope.
I think it changes the game in a way that, you know, they don't want the average person to be a player. They just want the average person to be a consumer. You know, when you teach media literacy to a young person, it's like getting them off the bench and getting them into the game.
I don't have to be what the people want to be. I want to be able to take what I am and who I am and show this to the world, and show that there are people like me that don't fit this negative stereotype. We're not all these negative people.
So they change the game by being understanding that they can do it, first of all, and they don't need anyone's permission or anyone's money to do it. Is this it?
No, click 3. Yes, all the way down.
In a small rooftop studio in Pittsburgh's North Side, Paradise Gray and Jasiri X have established their brand.
I call it the penthouse. But this is a studio where we get things done.
What did we do to deserve this condition where we can't even function without herb in our system?
They call it One Hood Media. It involves what they say is guerrilla video making.
So what's the state of the black world when the hood raised black boys and black girls?
We basically just do it. You know, there's no rules to it. We don't have to ask anybody's permission to do anything.
And here in Pittsburgh, we've taken several significant steps forward to secure our recovery.
When the G20 summit met in Pittsburgh, One Hood Media took advantage of all the background props that they say the government provided to tape a video they called "The Only Color That Matters Is Green."
The only color that matters is green. Where the richest families and countries meet in secret to scheme. 'Cause the only color that matters is green. They will make you a prisoner, a slave, prostitute, or a fiend. 'Cause the only color that matters is green.
This was really the first video that, as filmmakers, got us noticed. The Fab Five Freddy, who's really the originator of hip-hop videos, said that this was the best guerrilla hip-hop video that he's ever seen.
Now I testify, right hand over the Bible, left hand around the mic. This is hip-hop for survival. We was lied to when they said this was a democracy. Hypocrisy, walk with me, here's something you gotta see. The foreign policy.
You know, they look like stormtroopers had taken over and occupied Pittsburgh. You know, so what we did was we took advantage of the fact that we have $20 million worth of props on the streets of Pittsburgh. So we, as guerrilla filmmakers, we hit the streets and we used the props that was graciously given to us by the government to film this video. The only color that matters is green.
Of course, I see 3 blocks of officers, and I stop, I freeze. I said, I'm not going down there, and Paradise says, no, you're going down there. And so we walked all the way down to the end of them and just start coming up and saying
They didn't bother you?
No, they didn't bother me.
It is that kind of risk-taking that has helped launch One Hood Media. But it is nothing new to Paradise Gray, who as a founding member of the pioneering hip-hop group X-Clan became known as the Architect. Paradise mentored almost every big name in hip-hop, including LL Cool J, Nas, KRS-One, and Big Daddy Kane. In those days, Paradise was called the Architect because of his many bold and daring initiatives in this then new music scene in New York. One of his latest innovations is the hip-hop news show, This Week with Jasiri X.
Just another normal day inside these stories I'll start. Did her moms a favor, made a late trip to Walmart. Lil' cuz saved the place in line. She ain't wanna waste the time. She didn't think they would mind so much she'd have to face a crime.
When we first started This Week with Jasiri X and put it online, one of the first people to really respond to us was educators. Like, we started to find out that educators were taking it and using it in their classrooms because, you know, I'm an artist, I don't use profanity in my songs. And so these educators were telling us about how they were using the videos to actually show the news to their students because I was rapping the news and getting it over in a way that they can use it.
Difference when you black, just to claim that you yelling can turn a preacher's daughter to a dangerous felon.
We already knew we were on the right track because before we ever started doing this, both Jasiri and I and the other members of One Hood, we were some of the most sought after people by the CIS program, the Schumann Center, the jails were requesting us, and schools, high schools, junior high schools, elementary schools were requesting us to come and speak to their students.
What's peace when you present in a residence so decadent, whose negligence evidenced by millions without medicine? In Iran, we threaten it with weapons meant to pressure them, calling up regiments. Is that peace, Mr. President?
It was through their efforts on the weekly hip-hop news program This Week with Jasiri X in addressing complicated issues of public importance that Paradise and Jasiri realized they were having an impact.
I write a song called Free the Gina 6. Next thing you know, we're all over the country. Paradise does a video to it. We put it on YouTube. We're in Gina, Louisiana. We're meeting Michael Bazin and Al Sharpton and Dick Gregory and the Gina 6. And it showed me really that, oh, like I was lied to, that young people will embrace hip hop with a message if it's good and if it's done right. And that was really the jump off for us to do what we're doing now.
The result is the One Hood Media Academy located here at the August Wilson Center in Pittsburgh's Cultural District. Andre Kimo Stone Guest is the center's executive director.
The August Wilson Center was built to engage the community in a very meaningful way and to tell our story to a community. I was so proud to be a part of this, to have them here. I mean, to see them on a weekly basis when I would walk back and forth from meetings and hear them in here engaging and walking around the building and filming and really being excited about what it is that they're doing.
One of the things the One Hood Media Academy does is to have frank and honest discussions about videos aimed at young people, such as the one by hip-hop artist Too Short that was meant to be a joke about sex education in middle school. It backfired.
The firestorm came immediately for a couple of reasons. One, you know, Too Short is talking to a group of middle schoolers. So you're talking about 12, 13, 11-year-olds, right? And if you're talking about throwing first of all, if you're talking about grabbing a girl, throwing her up against a wall and touching her in a private area, you could call that rape.
There's never going to be anything funny about rape. You can't be like, haha, I raped somebody today. No,
right.
Because it's never going to be a cool thing. Rape isn't cool, sexual assault isn't cool, sexual abuse isn't cool, none of that stuff is cool. But people talking about it so much in our society that it's kind of made us numb to it.
These young men are really at the precipice of a paradigmatic change that's taking place around the world, and that media is actually being taken from the hands of a very few and being spread out to the hands of many. And they are learning the tools that they need to be able to capture that, mythologize their own story and put it out there for people to be able to see it and take it for what it is, that however they want to interpret it, as opposed to taking it through the very small lens of a select few. So to give them the tools to be able to do that, because the network exists. It's called the internet. It's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's YouTube, it's Vimeo. All of those avenues exist out there, but to give them the tools and also to empower them, to let them know that their voice can make a difference in that sea.
To me, one of the most, I guess, the proudest moments for me of the New Media Academy was when we addressed a situation around Troy Davis.
This is Troy Anthony Davis. I've been sitting on Georgia death row for a crime I did not commit. I will never take another human being's life. And this killer is still out there. My family's in mourning, the victim's family's in mourning, and the truth is still locked in.
We heard that he was going to be up for execution for a crime we believed he did not commit.
Why shouldn't I be paranoid of hatred? Just look at the curious case of Troy Davis. Let's travel on down to Savannah, in the state of Georgia, just south of Atlanta.
Well, these young black men didn't know who Troy Davis was.
A white police officer was shot and killed over an argument he tried to stop and heal. But here's where the plaque is real. The main suspect blamed Troy, went to the cops and squealed.
Wasn't aware of the case. We educated them on the case, and then the Paradise Direction, they actually shot that video.
I am Troy Davis. I am Troy Davis.
And they not only shot the video, appeared in the video, and you know, when we put that video out a few days later, that went viral, and it became one of the main instruments that people used to let people know about the Troy Davis case. It showed those young men that participate in our Media Academy that they could do something at the August Wilson Center in Pittsburgh. I showed them websites in Italy that it was on, Israel, China, Japan. So I'm showing them the different language. Well, you of course you can't understand, you know, you had to translate it, but I'm showing them all the different places around the world that people played that video and showed that video to let them know that no, you are, as young black men, you really set the culture, not just in our hood, but really the whole world.
You know, did my heart a world of good to see these young men engaging in such a way. It just makes me remember when I was in high school and engaged in things like that. I didn't have access to the type of technology they did. I wish I did, but it didn't exist back then. But for them to be able to do what they're doing is just phenomenal to me.
1, 2, 3. Say action.
Action. I've always felt like I had a voice, it's just expressing it.
There you go.
So now I know the means by which I can express my voice, be it writing, be it shooting a video. I have the ability to give an insight to what I think about the things that are going on around me. It means that people get to hear my view and understand that young black people are intelligent. We do think certain things. We have political stances.
And this is the power that you have, that you can make something, we could put it online, and it could really touch the entire world. And so I just think that was a transformative moment in the Media Academy, and those young men began to take what they were doing in themselves more serious.
Paradise and Jasiri are game changers because they show these young men the power that is within their grasp. But they are also game changers through a series of mini documentaries that they create. Powerful stories of success that they say no one else is telling.
One of the pastimes of young men in the black community is to watch hood movies. DVDs that were created guerrilla style about guys like Larry Davis and Rayful Edmond, and stories like Alpo, you know, AZ, you know, like all the street crime, Guy Fisher story, or, you know, there's like a big fascination with crime, drugs, and violence, you know, but there are thousands of other stories of great triumphs and people getting rich and people doing incredible things that go untold, you know, and I think it's important that both sides of the story be told. The half that's never been told to be told.
My name is Charles X, owner of One-on-One Personal Training and Fitness.
It stands before you a broken man.
And Charles is a success story that goes beyond someone who was a big-time drug dealer, a big hustler, who made a lot of money and got busted, wound up dead or in jail.
I had a bout with prison. I did 17 and a half years in prison. And that really taught me a whole lot about myself that I did not know. Yeah.
Gorilla walk.
We do things a little bit different at One-on-One.
This is the story of the rebirth. You know what I'm saying? The rose that grew from concrete. You know, the truth.
Gorilla walk.
someone who tells the story and doesn't glorify the violence or the drug dealing.
Yeah, team, hard work. When I was given that time, I was actually, when I was in the courtroom and in federal sentencing, they sentenced you to months. And so, you know, I wasn't that bright. You know, I probably was reading on a 6th grade reading level when I first went to prison. Had never read a whole book in my life that didn't have pictures in it. You know, really just passed through school. I was 6'9", I could play basketball and just push through. And when a judge said 211 months, I really couldn't even add it up in my mind, really. I had to go back to my cell later on and add it up. But right then at that time, I couldn't even add it up. And then when I figured out it was 17 and a half years, I said, oh my God, how am I going to do 17 and a half years? That's what I asked myself.
He's really a big brother, somebody who I look up to. Like, a lot of knowledge, and he's very open about his past, and he's very friendly in helping you establish yourself, and he helped me find myself a lot.
To me, what's so powerful about Charles' story is that he really, you know, kind of walked both stereotypes. I mean, he was a basketball player, you know, a highly recruited basketball player, and then he was this like big-time drug dealer, you know, but then he goes through this transformation where he gets caught, he gets sentenced to 17 years, and he comes out and he becomes a highly successful businessman, you know, and it's just like you said, like, those are the stories. I mean, you know, we're talking about, you know, right now where mass incarceration of Black and brown people is big business.
When I was in prison, Chris, I didn't sit down one day. I worked the whole time. I actually started a gym in prison. They told me it couldn't be done. And I said, okay, we'll see. And I actually set up a LLC in prison. And I was training governors and senators, and I would get them out their bed in the morning, knock on their door, come on, let's go. I trained the governor, John Rowland, who was the governor of Connecticut, the youngest governor ever.
Recidivism is 85% a lot of times in our community, and a lot of times these brothers get out, and women, sisters get out, and there's no job for them because they have felonies on their record. So here's a man that formulated a plan in prison.
3, I want you to really concentrate on your breathing. And they wouldn't hire me at Bally's to train. Good. They said I had a conviction, and they wouldn't hire me, but I didn't let that stop me. I was doing telemarketing by day, and I would come home at nighttime and go down to Bally's and take off my shirt and rip and start training, and people started to come ask me, will you train me, will you train me, will you train me? And that's how I started. See, there's more than one way than that old conventional, you gotta just press, press, press all the time. Good to see you, Johnny. He had an operation, so he had been about 6-8 weeks.
I'm very grateful, Charles. I really am.
I love this man.
And I mean, I know that's what he loves to do with his gym, is help people.
4, good, breathing.
I feel stronger, and not just physically either. I mean, attitudinally and spiritually, I feel stronger as a consequence of working out and the benefits from that.
Good, John. Very good. Breathing. What I want to do is I want to produce a group of men, real men, that we can go into the community and get others and pull them out.
The young people, they got to see it to be it. True. You know what I'm saying? Once they see the success, once they see it translate into actual physical success in the real world, like, oh, this man, you know, he has his own house. You know what I'm saying? Once they see the success financially, that's what they understand.
I didn't just wake up one day and say I want to be a drug dealer. It wasn't a one-day process. It was a process of seeing things and not having the wherewithal or the mind to get what I saw. You know, you can't show me a Benz and a BMW and all these nice things and then tell me I can't get it.
That's the draw that the industry is having. First of all, they're lying. They keep showing all these artists with fistfuls of dollars, throwing them around in these exotic cars that's rented and they don't own, in these mansions, MTV cribs that they rented for this video shoot. You know, we're trying to expose the fallacy and the lies. That's where One Hood Media Academy comes in.
Do you feel like more strongly against it, knowing that something like he described is really happening to half the young women that you might come in contact with?
I mean, yeah, it's completely serious, but I mean, what I was thinking was, why is this topic so much more serious to not have a joke about compared to other things that people joke about?
That is a curriculum that teaches young people the difference between real and fake.
Charles X has authored a book. He owns and operates the One-on-One Fitness Center located in the Strip District. Further, he employs men who have been where he's been. Not your typical story that we see on the nightly news.
My story is a story of a lot of young men who have went down that road before, in my own neighborhood, killing my own people. And that's why I feel that it's my duty to go back into my neighborhood and help what I helped to destroy. I helped. And so it's my duty to go back and bring them life, if it's through fitness or if it's through a word. Either way, I can bring life. I think we got to net out. We're losing too many men too fast. We don't have time for pole fishing. We got to put the poles away and pull out nets. Jesus was a fisher with a net. He taught the people how to net fish. This is what we have to do. We have to begin net fishing.
And I think it's a tremendous story, and I think it's something that really a national audience needs to hear, really this triumph over these odds, these tremendous odds.
And trying to get more than just one at a time, because we're going to lose too many that way. We at war.
You know, it's like every day in the hood, it's like the same sad song being played over and over again. Same people getting shot and killed, getting sent to prison, doing long bids, you know. In Pittsburgh, PA, you'll get served each day. You either fiending or you try and be the kingpin. In the late hour, thugs dream to take power. Fake powder, cocaine, entry in the dope game. X or the big H, reps come from big weight. You can catch a big break, graduate to big gate. You can catch a big case, graduate to triple max. Affidavits, eyewitness warrants for official tasks. Legal fees, cripple stacks, your funds is limping. With his money on crutches, he can't run from prison. Now you got your gums itching, now you've begun snitching, saying you become Christian. No more drugs and women, but the press leak your name so folk guns and spitting. No more tongues are slipping. You got slugs in your system. Ain't no happy endings in this coke opera. Just dope poppers and broke coppers. Bodies found in coat lockers.
Slowly, One Hood Media is breaking the ice jam. Frozen out by hip-hop moguls and labels who only want to portray one image of black men, they valiantly fight the powers that be and believe there's a market for hip-hop with a conscience.
There's a box that they have created for rappers and rap music, and they don't want you to go outside those realms, because they say this is what the people want to hear, this is what they want to see, and nobody wants to hear that.
One Hood first broke out of that box with a video they called, "What If the Tea Party Was Black?"
What if the Tea Party was black? Holding guns like the Black Panther Party was back. If Al was Rush Limbaugh and Jesse was Sean Hannity and Tavis was Glenn Beck, would you harm their families? If Sarah Palin was suddenly Sister Soldier, would you leave it to the voters and go and get the soldiers? Y'all know if the Tea Party was black, the government would have been had the army attack. What if Michael Baisden was on your FM dial for 3 hours every day calling the president foul?
And that video, you know, goes viral. It resonates with people. And so as we began to do that, what we began to see was, we saw the industry of hip hop begin to change. And we saw artists began to, you know, really bubble up and become successful that had conscious lyrics, that were intelligent, and had a different message, you know what I'm saying? We felt that there was a need for some type of curriculum and program to say, look, here are tools to decipher these images. Just because, you know, all you see on BET is you portrayed as a criminal does not mean that's who you are, or does not mean that's the totality of the black experience. Here are some other videos you might not have seen. Here's some information you might not have heard of.
Yeah, I didn't know people in Greece really cared that much. I didn't know people in Japan really cared that much. I didn't know people really cared that much about Troy Davis. You know, I didn't know people cared that much about what was happening in America. You know, so like to see people respond in the way they did kind of gives you hope that you can be heard.
So now look, if you see something that doesn't represent you, what do? You have to now create the thing that represents you. So now we're giving them the tools that you can make your own video. If you feel like that doesn't adequately represent you as a young black man, here's a camera, make a video, make a blog, write a blog, put something online that you feel represents you.
Jasiri X practices what he preaches.
see myself almost like as a hip hop newscaster in the sense that, I'm, letting people know about, what's going on in our community. I want to be somebody that, uses my talents and gifts to do something that has a real impact on our community. Hopefully raise consciousness, raise awareness, and improve the condition of our community.
As that hip-hop newscaster, Jasiri reports another view on the news of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed teenager shot to death in Florida. It's a view that captures the attention of young blacks through hip-hop.
911, what's your emergency? A black man's walking through my hood purposely. Stay calm, it's just little Trayvon, but he wanna be the hero, so we put his cape on. George Zimmerman, neighborhood block captain, loaded Glock strapped in. Fake cop has been, got out the cars, knowing what the cops asked him.
What we're doing by responding to these situations so quickly is really something that hasn't been done in rap music. So this is just a combination of our desire to raise awareness about situations, technology, and kind of the internet where, we put it on, I put it out there on Facebook and Twitter, and then it goes and it begins to develop a life of its own, and people begin to blog about it. And so I really believe it's a game changing because we're able to do something that really has not been seen before. How do young people get news now? And normally it's, no longer is it on TV or through newspapers. People are getting news from Facebook and Twitter. They can actually be entertained with the video and a song, but also be educated.
These young people are finding their voices. Paradise and Jasiri are showing them when, how, and where they can be heard.
A little back that way. More. Right there. That's what I want. Go. That's it. Good. I want them to get targets of opportunity because you want to be as witty as possible and you want to throw subliminal messages at people as they go forward into the world. Now, they understand how devastating racial stereotypes and being a part of the machine and being in that little box just pushing the same ideals. They know how detrimental that is to the black community.
So to me, that's why it's game changing because this is the new way people are getting news.
So what's the state of the black world? When the hood raised black boys and black girls. Before you pass judgment on us, Jasiri X gon' give you something to discuss. The grass is brown, the streets got potholes, and classes found on corners where the rock's sold. You can learn a bitch like Dontrell Willis, that chopped up white hit the gel in the skillet. It's rules to the game, but most fail to live it, so they end up rocking jumpers embroidered with jail digits. Here the tales is vivid, like cinematography, fiends found frail in fridges, send them an apology.